Welcome into Clips and Dip, episode 17 of season 2. I'm Adam Moslin. We got Chuck Mockler. We got Will Updike. We also had him on a Clips and Double Dip episode last night after the Clippers started off the season 1-0. Coming up on today's episode, we'll talk about the shirts from last night. No, we'll talk about the Clippers and if they can be 3-0 by Monday. A couple of games over the weekend. We'll preview both of them for you. But guys, how we feeling? I know we took an unbelievable picture that
Brian Seaman took the picture.
The Getty already. Brian Seaman took the picture. I thought that was funny. But just getting Brian Seaman to be our photographer for
very
us
gracious.
Without him being in the photo.
Very gracious.
But Joseph and Brian were there. You guys were at the bachelor party. And the vibes were immaculate because the Clippers got the victory.
It was great. We'll dive into it more, but I mean, that's exactly what we all wanted, I think, from the Clippers' first game for the most part.
But from the bachelor party?
Bachelor party was very low key. We went to the game and then
the game was hype though.
And then the game was hype. Yeah, but no, we're feeling good. Shout out to all the new listeners, by the way, as well. If you're just getting on this bandwagon, you can find us everywhere, including YouTube, where you can see us do funny names. Will, how are you? How are you feeling this morning? I was a little slow to get up this morning.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm feeling good. Recovering from, the stupor of a great Clippers win.
All right, so let's talk more about it. Can I just tell you guys why I couldn't sleep last night? And maybe you'll think I'm an idiot.
Is it fun or scary?
No, I don't. It could be both. Actually, it's weird. I thought about tweeting this out at 3 a.m. last night.
So happy you didn't.
Not a picture. It was just a thought that I couldn't get out of my head. And it was this. And this may sound bold or over the top, and I could be totally wrong. It's happened. But I was going to tweet out or text out, X out, whatever. What if Bones Highland is the key to everything? And Kawhi Leonard has known this. I keep thinking, guys.
Let's expand
Bones,
on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bones, we talked about it post-game a little bit, Will, on Clippers Talk. Bones is the one guy that we really don't know his full potential. Terrence Mann, we have a pretty good idea with.
He's there, yeah.
He can be a star role player on a championship team. Bones Highland, now that he can finish at the basket, and it looks like it's real. It happened in the preseason. I think he shot 80% at the rim. It happened in game 1 in the second half. He had that floater over the top, high off the top of the backboard. His body control's there. The defense, he's competing on that end. As long as he's decent there, what he brings offensively, I'm starting to think, do the Clippers need to bring in anyone else? Because that's going to take away minutes from Bones Highland. I love what I'm seeing.
How is Kawhi connected to this? I agree with what you're saying. Bones was phenomenal last night.
How did Kawhi know this?
Yes, that's where I'm lost.
Because Kawhi has befriended Bones throughout training camp, throughout the preseason. They have been tied at the hip. He sees star-type potential from him. Nicholas Batum, when asked after I think the final preseason game, or it was during the practice week, who has impressed you the most? Immediately said Bones Highland. It seems like everybody is recognizing, whoa, we have something here. There is untapped potential with this player that Lawrence Frank saw, and I think the Denver Nuggets saw at times and their fans, but this is a Clippers team that may have something, a secret weapon of sorts that nobody knows about yet that could be flourishing this season. And I said it last night to Will, but their ceiling could somewhat be tied to Bones Highland. Tell me I'm crazy.
I don't think you're super crazy.
I think if the ceiling is tied to Bones Highland, we're in trouble. I said this last night. Like I think that I think
tied is a little heavy. I think he could be a huge contributor.
I think he can be a huge contributor if our championship hopes are solely tied to Bones being the ceiling raiser. I would say that's reason for concern. Not to say that I don't think he has it in him. I think that Bones, no matter what, is going to be the key of extending, whatever with all that we have left to extend 2-1-3, like with whatever that looks like. Whether, if things don't go well this year, we keep on trading. It's still way too early to say. We're only one game in, but I do see him being a crucial piece. I think if this team is like dependent to get over the hump on Bones being an all-star level player, that feels a little scary.
I don't know about all-star level this season, but the one thing you brought up was, and I disagree, you said, I don't think he can swing a playoff game yet. I think he can. I think he almost did in game 3 against the Phoenix Suns, but that three-pointer didn't fall from him. It went in and out. In a game they should have won, they got screwed on that take foul with Devin Booker on Russell Westbrook causing a turnover. That was a game they should have had, and Bones was electric. I think he's the real deal. I don't know. I think the players know it. I think they see something in him.
He was great with Russ last night. Him and Russ running the floor. There was that, I think it was the behind the back pass, second quarter or first quarter or something. It was Bones and Russ, and it was just perfect. Like, this is a great environment for Bones. Having the trust of Ty Lue is already pretty impressive. I think that's actually probably impressed me the most. That Ty's like, you're the backup point, basically, to Bones. I think that's a huge. I mean, that has me hyped. And I don't know, man. The potential is what I think excites me the most. He's very good, but this is like the first Clippers young for sure, guy we've had in a while, right? Ever since, I'm not going to say he's going to be as good as Shea or anything like that, but age-wise and a young player to be excited about, this is the guy. And I'm excited. It's a perfect situation for him. He doesn't have to do too much. He's got a coach who will pull him if things aren't going well, and you got to make good decisions usually if you're going to get extended run from Ty Lue. So it's all set up for him to do everything Adam is saying. And I think it's more on the possible side than the not possible side.
Okay. I think his decision-making has improved. Everything looks like it's developed.
He seems like a much more mature player, I will say. Like, even when we last saw him.
To Mason Plumlee for the little reverse layup jam he had.
Yeah.
The way he can set guys up, nobody knew he was this good of a playmaker but him. He said when he came in, he thought of himself as a point guard.
He doesn't lack confidence. We can all agree on that. So I'm not surprised.
He's like the opposite of Luke Kennard. He gets in the game and he puts them up immediately. He is hunting for his shot and he doesn't care who's out there. The guys love it though.
Well, because he's playing controlled, like you guys are saying. He's doing it in a way where you're like, all right, that makes sense. It's like when you're arguing with someone and you're like, I don't necessarily agree with you, but I'm following how you're getting there, and I'm not really mad at the process. So I don't disagree, but I don't agree. With Bones, you're like, yeah, go for it, man. None of this looks truly insane, so let's keep it up.
6 of 11, 17 points, 3 of 8 from distance, more threes in one game in the regular season than he hit throughout the entire preseason. 3 assists, just 2 turnovers. Oh, and by the way, that ankle turn looked bad in preseason game number 4 when he had 25 points. And he came back and was absolutely fine, turning the corner, getting past guys. He's everything that they have needed in some ways. Like, he looks like he can supply some of what Reggie Jackson did during that playoff run in 2021.
He's also off the injury report totally, which is good. He's not questionable. He's not anything. So he's good to go for the weekend. I'm excited to see him. It's going to be, where Bones is really going to be valuable? And the 8th game in March, when we have 9 more to go. We have 17 games that month, which is something I'm going to harp on all season. Bones is going to be huge during that month. We need the young legs. He's going to get his most, minutes per game in that month. I would not be surprised by a fair amount towards the tail end of it. So I'm excited.
There's going to be growing pains. He's going to have a game where he has 8 turnovers. I'm fine with it.
Get
this guy ready for the playoffs. I think he has it. He embraces the moment. I'm telling you, that three-pointer was about to blow the top off Crypto.com Arena in Game 3 against the Suns last year, and it just rattled in and out as Bones was starting to take over the ball game. Like, he's incendiary because if he's hot, it's not like everyone else needs to look for him and find him and get him the ball. He's already going to have it in his hands.
He gets to the ball. He's like a middle linebacker. Like, he's getting to the ball. He will be around it.
I just can't believe what we're seeing from his playmaking. I thought his defense was better than advertised last year, and it looks even better this year. And the way, if he can finish at the rim like he has been so far, they have something special. This is somebody that can change the trajectory of the Clippers season. I truly believe that. Maybe I'm sleep deprived and a fucking idiot. I don't know. But last night,
some of the best takes you've ever had. You said John Wall was going to shoot 45% from 3. This is way more level-headed than that.
I think it was above 38%. F off, Chuck. You see, I can't have nice takes.
How close?
Because every time I do, you'll bring up John Wall or something. You know what? I could dig in your closet too if you like, Chuck.
Absolutely. It's filthy in there. All right, let's talk Paul George and Kawhi, who the Clippers season does 100%, go by way of.
No, the ceiling is tied to bones.
All right. PG 27, 3, 6, 4 steals, 4 of 7 from 3. Kawhi 23, 5, 6, and 1. 5 of 5 from 3. They were playing good defense as well. Like, there couldn't have been a better way to start this season for 2-1-3 than how they started it last night. And I don't really know what to say, because it's not that I didn't think they would do it. I guess I'm just happy that they did. After what we talked about, like showing all the stuff that they've been saying all this offseason was real. And I know it's only game 1, but it was still
nice. Through one game, we got the bill of sale of what we were actually promised. And I thought Paul George, especially on the defensive end, his active hands really early, the way he was like getting into guys, going after guys, I thought was great. Who knows? Hopefully they can keep up like this pace and trajectory for at least a sizable enough portion of the season for the Clippers to have a decent seed. But yeah, I mean, so far, delivered as promised, delivered on the company lines that we heard all preseason long.
Last show I brought up, well, what if, because somebody else, I think it was Law Murray, mentioned it, what if expending all that energy on defense leads to tired legs on offense? Would the Clippers end up shooting last night? 52% from the field, 47% from 3. They knocked down 16 3-pointers. Whatever rust there was in the preseason, it was over within the first 5 minutes when it was either a dunk or a 3-pointer. They had 7 dunks in that first quarter.
I was going to say, the dunks were insane.
The first play was a dunk. Paul George to Kawhi.
I believe the first 3 field goals, I believe, were all dunks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I think Zoo had the first points of the season with.
No, it was Kawhi. It was
an
inbounds pass underneath the baseline from Paul George.
Yeah, 7 of the 8 opening buckets were dunks. The Clippers averaged less than 5 dunks a game last year. A game.
The blocks also to start things off. The first thing I talked about on Clippers Talk was
Zoo had 4.
Yeah, Zoo with 4, but he had one on Scoot right after Kawhi had a block on Scoot. The first or second possession of the game. Welcome to the NBA, young man.
Tough team to play your debut. I don't hold his debut against them, but you got to go against Kawhi, PG, and Zoo. Like, first game, very motivated. And
he turned it around, though. I mean, it wasn't garbage time, but you got to give it up to Scoot. Like, he had a rough first half. He could have completely shut down. He turned. He managed to mine something out of it, which I do think is promising for the young man. So I will give that to his credit.
Yeah, and we were playing. I also was kind of shocked at how the Blazers looked. They do not look. Jeremy Grant and Brogdon are gone from that team.
Brogdon looked great.
Jeremy Grant is too good. They're too good.
Underwhelmed. I'm really I really am curious about what the future of that is. But sorry, we're getting a little off topic here.
Sorry. What did we? So Rocco was the starter with Terrence out. How do we feel that worked? It made me more excited to see Terrence. I know it worked well, but I'm more excited now to see Terrence just because there's a little more pep.
Well, everything to me, I mentioned the Kawhi block, the Zoo block early. Mm-hmm. Everything was contested at the rim. There were typically 2 guys waiting for them. Even when they got called for some tough fouls, some ticky-tack stuff, Rocco got called for one of them. He got called for being out of bounds on a strip on Anthony Simons. That should have been a clean steal because he actually didn't step out of bounds. I thought Rocco was phenomenal defensively at the rim. I thought he was exactly where he needed to be, and he helped set the tone as well, and just shrinking the floor because he's out there, because of all that wing stop length they have. And Russ was very good too. Who was on Scoot?
Yeah.
Russ was on him a lot. So They were all fighting through screens. Everybody was playing hard.
Yeah, Covington was kind of the perfect glue guy. Like 5, 4, and 2 with 3 steals. You'd love to see even one more 3-point attempt go in. I think he was 1 for 4. But like that is what we need from him, right? Like it doesn't need to be. It really doesn't need to be more than that. He's there to help alleviate some of the defensive load. To, space the floor a little bit. And hopefully be efficient from 3. But like we don't need much more than that. He's there to fill in the cracks. Right. He has the old Batum role, or what Batum's role could return to be in closing lineups or in smaller sample sizes. So I think that it worked great. I still, I would have loved to see with Terrence being named the starter, Terrence on opening night. But glad that Robert Covington got an opportunity, and much like in the preseason, he looked pretty good with the starters. So it's nice to know it's an option. I feel like we all felt a little down on the future of the 4 for the Clippers and like how they were going to consolidate how they were going to do that. And I think we honestly got a lot of answers with Marcus Morris being in street clothes last night. So
DNP'd. I called it. I thought he was going to catch a lot of DNPs this year, and it seems like he's on that track. We also learned, Adam, when we're not recording, we can tell you a spicy little nugget that we learned about one Marcus Morris. So a lot of good stuff. Is there anything that we maybe take away with not as rose-colored glasses? We'll get the elephant out of the room. Break the paint. What are we doing? What are we doing with this? What is this?
15 dunks. What's your problem? They broke the paint.
I have no problem with dunking. I can't. I said on Twitter that if we did an episode yesterday, the first 20 minutes would have been about that shirt. So I'm not going to say anything about it. What's maybe not the rosiest? I can't break the paint. I cannot break the paint. What's maybe something not with the rosiest colored glasses?
17 turnovers. But when you have 36 effing assists, I can live with that. That was the most assists they ever had in a season opener. And they were always making the extra pass. Yeah, there were 5 or 6 that were completely unforced. Kawhi called himself out post-game because he had 4 turnovers. That's unlike him. Paul George had 4. That's somewhat like him.
That is very much, that's...
But 3 of them, I want to say, came in the first quarter, and he started to clean things up afterwards. But overall, it was the right idea for the most part. It was poor execution here and there, but guys were trying to get others involved, make the extra pass, find Ivica Zubac early and often. But keeping him, it wasn't just, give Ivica Zubac the first touch of the second half, get him an easy bucket there. No, they kept him consistently involved. That was something they talked about in the preseason at Media Day, came to fruition. A lot of the themes all kind of reared their heads in a good way. Last night, we saw them come through with the things they said they were going to do. Will said it post-game. Like, they didn't just talk the talk. They walked the walk out there.
Will, what was your maybe potential not super hype takeaway?
I mean, honestly, like outside of the turnovers, I just don't have a lot to complain about.
Yeah.
It was only Portland, which I guess is a qualifier and something
you got to beat who's in front of you. This Clippers team, I'm like, I don't care.
Where were these wins last year like this? Right. How many games did we have this much fun where it was just an exciting brand of basketball to watch? That was completely different from what last year to this year, or to game 1. And it's all because of the great shirt.
Break the paint, baby.
I guess one other thing would be the Kenyon Martin fit is now it's
good call.
It's very unclear. It's very unclear to me
Which
how that's going to work. And it's still very early. It's not over yet.
And not unsurprising.
Yeah. But I didn't see anything last night where I'm like, oh, okay, he's got a place here. So
airball to 3-pointer again.
That was rough, dude. I felt bad. That sucked.
Yeah, I think it was 0 for 4.
From
the floor.
Looks like more of a specialized situational player than I would have thought. But it's early. He's been playing multiple different positions, figuring it out.
He's never played the 5. I bet KJ Martin has never played the 5, like at a level of basketball like this. You know what I mean? Like, that's a tough position to learn if you're KJ, I think.
The good thing is he still has an elite skill as a dunker, a rim runner. Like, that is going to be there. Yeah. And he can still get so much better and develop as the season goes along. and then they can make a decision on him.
Contract year, he'll probably pick it up. Man, what a way to start the season. A lot of people on Twitter were hyped. Adam, how were the callers? I didn't hear
Excited.
any of them. They were hyped. Okay.
Outside the one that just wanted to get his agenda across about not bringing in James Harden. We don't need James Harden. I brought up this.
We're not talking about that right now.
We're not talking about that. Yeah. What the fuck are you talking about, man?
Hey, look. Woj tweeting stuff out. We can't react to it. No, it's fine. I don't look with the way Bones Highland is playing. Now, we did bring up Malcolm Brogdon earlier, and that could be interesting too if they ever circle back to that with how good he looked last night. But
feels like there's more targets now for the Clippers. Like everyone on Twitter was like, "These guys are going to all be available before the deadline." And you're like, "Great." So we got other options.
And I don't think they need to rush necessarily with them. You know, with James Harden or Malcolm Brogdon, they could take their time, see what they have, adjust accordingly. I would like to see what this group can do for 10 to 15 games, the old Coach Lou sample size.
That's a good call. All right, coming up, we're going to be talking if the Clippers can go 3-0 by Monday. A little bit of a Jazz preview as well as Wemby and the Spurs. We do have ads coming up, so if they've been too loud for you, go ahead and turn it down. Ads coming up, and then Clippers weekend preview in 3, 2, 1.
All right, we're back here on Clips and Dip. We talked a little bit about the Clippers. Game 1 victory. Perfect record so far. Batting 1,000. We love it.
Gonna keep it rolling.
Looking ahead, the day that you're listening to this, if you're listening to it on Thursday, the Clippers tomorrow are taking on the Jazz, and then they're back home to take on the Spurs on Sunday. What are we thinking, fellas? Chuck, I'll kick it to you. Do you think the Clippers, or do you think Monday morning the Clippers are a perfect 3-0?
I do. I think I might be buoyed from Adam's rousing take about Bones Highland. That has me hyped up. I think I'm maybe a little too hyped up still from the game last night. But obviously the tougher game is against the Jazz. Injury report's fairly clean. Terrence Mann's out with the ankle. Brandon Boston Jr. out, which is tough just for him. But I'm feeling good. I don't really know who's going to stop Kawhi and PG on the Jazz, on either of these teams. Spurs are just too young. I'm feeling pretty good about 3-0. I would say I'm Adam Osland level of confident in the Clippers this weekend.
Are you more worried about one matchup than the other?
Yeah, the Jazz. They're a better team.
Yeah.
When you say 3-0, I say 82-0.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, man.
All right.
The Jazz game scares me just because it's their first road game. And they played so poorly in Sacramento, so you expect them to get Utah's best shot, their home opener. And they got run and that Malik Monk dunk that happened in the game up at Golden One Center. It worries me, but the fact that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are available, no restrictions with how good they looked, and what they said coming out of that game last night, we're not satisfied. Ivica Zubac came on post-game with us and immediately harped on how bad the fourth quarter was. The fact that the starters had to come back in. And I'm not even sure if they needed to, but
we owe a quarter. We all collectively owe 1 quarter into the give a quarter jar. I also did the math on this. We're going to be buying a hot and ready at the end of the season is what we're going to be able to afford with our quarters. So we all owe 1 quarter into the quarter jar.
Do we all owe 8.3 cents? Is that how it works with the three of us?
Quarter each.
Quarter each.
Oh, each of us.
Yeah.
Okay. Even though it was just 1 quarter they lost. All
That's
right.
for all of us. It's a solidarity thing.
Extended garbage time, but whatever. No, that's fair.
You need some help? I can loan you a quarter.
I'll take a check. Yeah, the Utah Jazz, it worries me a little bit. It's just early in the season. You don't want to have any letdowns coming off a big victory where you imposed your will, something we rarely saw at all last season. I just want to see them keep this same focus and mindset and them come out and play the way they did in that first quarter. I want to say the Portland Trail Blazers had 4 points 5 minutes in. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Something close to it.
Yeah. The Clippers were maybe, and Will, you've talked about this post game, but it can sound cliche, but having someone like Russ and how infectious his energy is, getting into it, getting the crowd into it, those dunks where he's ripping down the rim. You mentioned it earlier, the behind-the-back pass from Bones. Excuse me, the net. Can't rip the rim. It's always the net.
You rip the net, you break the paint, you give 1 quarter, usually, at least.
But I think it permeates throughout the team, or it did in game 1. I'm interested to see what they look like, because so much was made of their offensive rating in those 10 games with Russ, with Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard. But if you just took the last 6 of them where they were together, it actually was really good. So it was 4 really bad games offensively to start things off, even though they scored 175 points against Sacramento. Weird. But their offensive rating wasn't good the first 4, and then it was really good the last 6. Where is that going to level out to now? I want to see after 10 games where that could be, so we can just get a better picture, a clearer view, more data, more input, more evidence on what exactly this team is going to look like this year. That's what's so exciting to me. There's a lot of unknowns, I guess, but most of them are positives and what we expect to be bright spots.
Will, are we all waking up on Monday to a 3-0 record? Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm feeling good about it.
You suckers. I'm kidding.
You absolute
I got
idiot.
3-0. You fell for the okie doke.
So the Jazz got smoked by Sacramento in their first game. Clarkson did Clarkson things.
Another weird matchup. So
yes,
I was talking to Charles about this last night. Some of the opening day, not just opening day, but first games were really well thought out by the NBA. You know, you have the Nuggets and the Lakers. You have the Suns and the Warriors. You have the Mavs and the Spurs.
Knicks.
The Celtics and the Knicks. Like, you have things that are thought out, and then for the Clippers, it's like, I don't know, the Trailblazers. How about they play the worst team? I don't know.
We get no respect.
And that's how I feel about I feel that same way about Jazz Sacramento. Like, what? Okay, sure. Yeah, sure.
Who was clamoring for this matchup?
Don't worry, man. The good teams and the gauntlet's coming.
Kings Clippers make more sense after the highest scoring game of the season last year.
That would have been fun.
We should say they played the Jazz the first 2 games in the preseason.
They did play the Jazz first 2 games in the preseason.
And I was very encouraged by that second game, because the Clippers dogged them out once again with their physicality. You would have thought the Utah Jazz would have said, okay, you got us this time. Now we're going to come out. You lit a fire underneath us. And they still clamped them defensively.
Yeah, is it just going to be more of the same? Walker Kessler, I don't think, is going to be able to deter Zoo too much. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see another heavy double-double from Zoo in this one. And then again,
another 2012.
And then again, who conceivably on the Jazz is stopping Kawhi and Paul George?
That is a great question. They used to have some guys at that wing position that could try to slow them down.
Simple, right? Like, sometimes it's like, who literally looking at, I'm like, I don't know who's stopping that.
Ingles, Royce O'Neal are not walking through that door.
Thank the Lord.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Gordon Hayward. They are depleted there.
Gordon Hayward could play I wouldn't mind if Gordon Hayward played for the Jazz when we play them this week.
Young Gordon Hayward before he tore up his ankle. But
did you ever see? Sorry, this is off topic. Did you ever see the Gordon Hayward shoe that was inspired by barber shops?
That was last year, right? When he had the terrible haircut.
Yeah, let me look it up. It's terrible.
Was it the little barber shop pole, the red and blue and?
Yeah, it was it was one of the worst
candy cane thing.
Yeah, it's terrible. I'm gonna put it in the chat here. It's on sale for $180.
Can't be that terrible.
All right, it's in the private chat. Anyway, yeah, Will. What's gonna happen in this game? Do we think is it gonna? I don't know if it's gonna be a blowout.
I don't think. I don't
think it'll be a blowout.
No, I don't think it's gonna be a blowout at all. I think
Clarkson hates us.
While I like the Clippers going 3-0, I still stand by that prediction. I think that this game is an actual test and is the right stepping stone for sort of what they need. And then sort of an X factor in the Spurs, and that it's a young team, and it's so much is kind of, they're less scouted, I guess I would say. They're a little bit less scouted, but this Jazz team, solid team last year. They're coming back with some continuity. And yeah, they're like Adam said, they're going to be eager to avenge a loss after getting smoked. So I think that this is going to be a decent test. I don't think it's not going to resemble game 1 at all, where they're comfortably leading by 20 points, 30 points. And then, I'm hoping still that it's, starters aren't out past the midway point of the fourth quarter, but I don't know that it's going to be that comfortable.
Yeah.
I also stand by Will's prediction. And I do want to mention that
rope-a-doped by Adam on this episode.
Utah is a tough place to play because of their fan base, and they have not forgotten about that Game 5 in 2021 where the Clippers came in there without Kawhi and got that victory.
Good. I
and
hope
Terrence
they never
Mann had the
forget
dunk
that.
on Gobert. I'm just saying the environment's not going to be easy. Their opening home game. I expect it to be a tough game, but I want to see how the Clippers in a close game execute down the stretch. I'd be interested to see. That's obviously not something we had to worry about in Game 1.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be a nice test. That'd be a nice see where we're at with the late game execution stuff.
Like what happens just because all of a sudden they had 15 points in the fast break and they were averaging 20 points in transition the preseason. What happens when the game slows down and that's taken away? Can they get back to how good they were in the half court in past seasons? Or do you lose something there because now you're more focused on fast break, transition buckets, and the goal is to marry those two things.
Totally. Yeah. Have a nice balanced attack. And maybe against, the Blazers, it was funny. Did you see the clip when I think it was Paul George hit Kawhi with like that crazy bounce pass in transition? It was like the Clippers it wasn't a fast break, but it almost looked like it. They inbounded the ball. They took, I think it was 2 passes. They were sprinting up the court. Scoot was looking around as Clippers players were sprinting by him. And we got that layup. Those are those kinds of buckets. And we saw it in the preseason too with Zoo, where it's just simple. It's A to B. Zoo's got the steal, give him the ball. You see they're not getting back, we're sprinting down the court. The Jazz are a nice team to see if this continues, because they're going to get a couple more stops than the Blazers will. We got to assume.
Remember, Utah had about a week or two early last season where they were actually at the top of the Western Conference.
Yeah, people were really high on Utah.
They were the surprise darling team the first month and a half of the season. Whoa, the West is even tougher than we thought. The Utah Jazz are in the picture. And then injuries and the rebuild kind of started to take hold and things changed. But they're healthy right now, and they do have guys that are very dangerous. Kessler's tough, man.
Yeah,
you need to bring your hard hat going up against him and making sure you don't get beat up too much on the boards, because the Clippers still, with Rocco in there, they're a little bit bigger than with Terrence Mann, obviously, but they still need to collectively get boards. And that's also how you get it to Russ and get out there and push the pace.
Yeah.
Russ, by the way, deserves a ton of credit for last night. A plus 30. I think it was only the 6th time in his career he's been a plus 30 or better. That was the team high last night. He had a pass in the first quarter. I think it was on Kawhi's first 3-pointer in the corner, where Russ got all the way to the rim, 2 feet in the paint. 2 players were there. One was lost. I felt like Russ could go up for the layup, and he still kicked it out to Kawhi Leonard there. Found him again in transition in the fourth quarter for a 3-pointer. But he was just really sacrificing, looking for his shot and trying to get others involved. I mean, he had more assists than points, 13-11.
Yeah, which we love.
Just 3 turnovers.
We love to see it. And then what are we looking a little farther ahead to Wemby and the Spurs on Sunday night? Who do we want to see guard Wemby? Everybody?
Boban.
I kind of want to watch everyone guard Wemby.
Yeah,
because
get your shot.
Dude, it is fascinating to watch him play basketball. I've never used that word to describe a player who's good, if that makes sense. A lot of bad players you watch, this is a fascinating display of basketball. Wemby is fascinating to watch because he is so big and so smooth. I do not understand it.
I bet you Kawhi rips him. I bet you he either has a block or a big steal on him just to tell him, hey, young man, I did the same to Scoot. I know you were the first pick, but you remember that crazy takeaway he had in the bubble against Dallas in the first round with Boban Marjanovic? Kawhi is also a freak in many ways with his hands. So I want to see that matchup the most.
That's a good call. Will, who do you want to see guard Wemby?
I think it's kind of I hope it's by a bit of a committee thing. But it'd be great to see. I mean, I'd love to see the Paul George, Kawhi Leonard sort of baptism. Welcome to the NBA. Just running. I would love if they continue to do that. Just running a hit list through the all lottery picks. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Curious to see how Rocco fares defensively in this, assuming he gets to start again, because I feel like he also can cover some ground. I think it's a really interesting. It's a way different cover than anyone I can think of him spending a lot of time on.
Yeah, I wish we could bring Xavier Moon back so we could have a shot of Xavier Moon trying to guard Wembanyama.
Kawhi also, Earl Boykins. Kawhi also.
The clip of the guy on the fast break literally just doing a big dribble over Earl Boykins is one of the craziest highlights. It's not a carry. He just goes boom and just bounces the ball over Boykins.
The other reason I want to see Kawhi in that game is because it's against San Antonio, and there's still a little something extra whenever he plays them. Didn't he have a game last year where he had 5 dunks against San Antonio?
Something weird. It was like he was juiced up for it.
Yeah. He caught Jakob Poeltl. I know he wasn't on the Spurs then, but Kawhi Leonard gets up for those games, and it's going to be another home game. Are you guys going to be there?
I'm going to be out of town. I'm going back to Montana for a couple weeks.
No excuses, man.
I might be there on Sunday. It depends. I got some other stuff cooking, so we'll see.
Ominous. What is that?
He's literally cooking.
Yeah, literally. You probably are literally cooking.
He's got a crock pot.
Yeah. No, this is going to be a fun weekend. Anything else you want to say about this before we let these Clippers listeners go?
I can't wait to watch Victor Wembanyama. Did you guys see any of the highlights of that game?
We watched a little bit of the game. I watched a little bit of it before the Clippers game.
Okay.
I still don't understand it.
No one does. Not even what's crazy is you see guys that have been doing this at the highest level in the biggest moments, and they're like, what the hell just happened? That block he had on Kyrie Irving, where it looked like Wembanyama was covering half of the court, and then somehow got back to help out and block Kyrie, who is one of the greatest tough shot makers in NBA history, that you think would be able to figure out, okay, Wembanyama's almost, 9 feet when he puts his hand up. I just have to put my shot up a little bit higher. Couldn't get it over him. I mean, the picture that's gone around with him in the preseason against the Golden State Warriors where he blocks Andrew Wiggins, it's like Andre the Giant freak show type stuff. What are we looking at? That we've never seen anything like this before. It's like KD merged with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I've seen people make that comparison, or Tracy McGrady and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It's Rudy Gobert and KD, maybe for a modern day comparison. But you always have to merge guys together when you're talking about a comp for this guy and Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, I wish I could see him in person. Will, you should try and go.
You could probably see him from Montana, actually.
Yeah, that's true. We do got to say, we got to say RIP to Bingo Smith, former Clipper, and the reason that Ralph Lawler would say bingo when the three-pointer was made. For those of you who don't, if you're a new fan of the Clippers, Ralph Lawler was the announcer for over 40 years before retiring in the team, now pretending like he never existed. Is there anything else we want to say? Adam, what's your positive note to send these Clippers fans out on? We're going to go 3-0. What else do we got?
They need to handle business to prepare for the game against the Lakers. That's the real, true first test. So Paul George came out recently on Podcast P and said, we need to handle business against the bad teams, lock in against the good teams. It happened opening night. They certainly took care of business against Portland. Mm-hmm. Keep that mindset, keep that going, stay on schedule with getting enough fresh legs in there by getting starters out in the fourth quarter. I want to see more of that, where the game is over midway through the fourth, like Will was saying.
It's a good call. Let's get hyped up. Let's get ready for this Lakers game by winning and going 3-0 on Monday.
Ripping the net.
We're breaking the paint. We're ripping the net. We'll be back with a tripod on Monday to talk the Clippers first back-to-back, because they go Magic and Lakers, which is kind of a pain in the ass.
You know why that happened, right?
Because
you remember the Lakers' last game against the Clippers last season? They were on the front end of a back-to-back. They were in Utah the night before, and they complained after losing to the Clippers that they were tired.
They're like, schedule's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and it was like Clippers fans were like, yeah, your schedule's crazy. Let me tell you something, brother.
Yeah. Oh, you had a back-to-back?
Yeah, please.
That's difficult. But yeah, we'll be back on Monday. Reviews help us. You can find us on Spotify, Deezer, iTunes. We're also on YouTube.
Subscribe on YouTube. Like and subscribe.
Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. Sometimes we do lives. It's a fun hang. And again, welcome to the new listeners. And only 1 quarter lost. We will update this every single show. 1 quarter lost, 1 AI written shirt gained from opening night. We hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. And as always, let's go Clips.